Hello, I'm Debbie from Off Topic Things I Didn't Plan to Learn. Thanks for stopping by. If you've been here before, you know I've talked a lot about Costa Rica. And today I'm going to talk about some of the differences between the United States and Costa Rica. I lived there for over 12 years and I've been back in the United States now for about a year and a half. And so it's very, very evident the differences between Costa Rica and the United States. First thing I'm going to talk about is something that I really like in Costa Rica is there's no ageism there. There's no discrimination based on your age, especially against the elderly. Um, People will be friends with you if they're young, even if you're old. They don't care. They don't even really seem to notice that you're old. They don't act like it's a problem. Um, I know that here in the United States, I don't think there would be too many teenagers that would want to walk around with their parents, especially holding hands or with their arms around each other. But in Costa Rica, it's very common. The people do that. The teenagers walk with their grandparents and their parents. Even a male will walk with his mother or his grandmother hand in hand or arms around each other. And so that's something that I think is really nice. Another one is normally you cannot flush the toilet paper in Costa Rica. There will be a sign in the restroom usually telling you, do not flush the toilet paper. You have to put it in the garbage can. The reason for that is they have smaller pipes for the water in Costa Rica. And if it's got toilet paper in it, it can't get down the pipes. Some of the houses that are more modern or um, more expensive probably will have toilets that you can flush. But for the most part, especially in the airports, in restaurants, all around in gas stations, and most of the places that you're probably going to be staying in, you cannot flush the toilet paper. Okay, if you're renting a house in Costa Rica and it's um, not an expensive rental, it's a lower rental. Hot water is not standard in the house. Now, you may think, wow, you don't have any hot water. Now, you can get something called a suicide shower, which is a shower that will heat the water up in the bathroom, or another type of shower. There's other types that you can get. They're not called that, but that's one of the standard ones that they have. And that shower will give you hot water, and you just don't touch the wires. Um, you can wash the dishes in cold water. The whole time that I lived in Costa Rica, I never had hot water in the kitchen. And I think the first couple of times I boiled the water and then, or I got the water hot and used it that way. But then I realized there was a type of detergent that they have there that's a solid detergent that washes the dishes excellent without hot water. And a lot of my friends, when they would come to visit, they would buy that detergent to take back to the United States because they thought it was so good. Another thing that you notice that's different there is mothers and grandmothers are highly, highly respected. And Mother's Day is actually a national holiday in Costa Rica. So the mothers are like the best thing in the family. They are very revered, and the grandmothers as well, and great grandmothers. Um, Another thing that's important is greetings. Greetings are important when you first get together with someone, the first interaction. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're in a store, if you're meeting with a friend, you're meeting a new person, or even if you're sending a message on a text or something to someone. Um, in the United States, when I send a text, I don't usually start off with, good morning, how are you? Or what are you doing? I usually just start off with answering a question that they ask me or just acting like I just saw them 2 minutes ago and just continuing on with the conversation. But in Costa Rica, it's very important that you have the greeting first. So you would say, hello, how are you? How are you doing today? Good afternoon, whatever you're going to say. Okay, another thing is humility is one of the highest valued traits in Costa Rica. Being humble is something that they really revere. And I don't usually see that very often in the United States. But I think that's a wonderful quality. Another thing is consumerism. Consumerism is not a big thing in Costa Rica. You don't see people buying gobs and gobs of things. Now, granted, there are big malls where you might see wealthy people buying a lot of things, but generally you do not see the normal people going out and buying a lot of things. For one thing, they don't have a lot of money. Another thing, they don't really believe in that, and it's just not in their culture. When you go to the store, in little stores, in little mercados, you can buy 1 egg, 2 eggs, 3 eggs, how many ever eggs you want to get. You don't get them by the dozen. And also, by the way, the eggs are brown instead of white. And you don't put them in the refrigerator. You just leave them out. You can buy 1 stamp. You can buy 1 envelope, 1 folder, 1 piece of wrapping paper. In fact, that's usually how wrapping paper is sold in a lot of the stores, is buy 1 sheet at a time. You might have Christmas wrapping paper, 1 pattern, all hooked over each other on the shelf, and then you would take 1 piece off. Whatever kind of wrapping paper you're looking for, it might be 1 at a time. Now, one time I was on a bus and I had purchased a bunch of gifts for some children. It was for a group of children that were coffee workers, and I was making presents for them for Christmas. And so I was at a store that had rolls of wrapping paper. It was called Pequeño Mundo, which is a famous store there. There's a lot of Pequeño Mundos. And those stores do have wrapping paper sold in rolls. And when I was on the bus with all these rolls of wrapping paper, everyone was staring at me because of the wrapping paper. They were all looking at the wrapping paper thinking, what in the world is she doing with all that wrapping paper? Because they just don't do that. And generally, too, when they have Christmas, they only give the presents to the children. The adults often do not get presents. So that's another really big difference. Costa Ricans are very, very affectionate. They love to hug you, and oftentimes you'll see men hugging other men, men hugging women, people hugging strangers. It's a common thing. When you meet someone, they might give you a hug, or they might give you an air kiss. They'll give you an air kiss. They'll lean into you, and they won't touch you on your cheek, but they'll just go, and then on the other side, same thing. So that's another thing. Hugs are very, very common. And healthcare says that hugs are very important for people's mental wellness. And I think here in the United States, we don't give each other enough hugs, because I hardly have had any hugs in the United States since I've been here for a year and a half. But in Costa Rica, I would have had hundreds of them by now. Another thing is Costa Ricans are very, very laid back. They're very laid back, and the word is tranquilo. tranquil. They're very tranquil, and they don't get really excited about something. If there's a big problem, they're just calm. They remain calm, and they go around, and they don't get all upset and go crazy and go running around and rushing like in the United States. It's pretty hurry, 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 quick, quick, quick. We have to get there. We have to get there. Another thing is they'll say in Costa Rica, when I first got there, they said, okay, you're on Tico time now. And that meant that they would get to it whenever they would get to it. For example, if you asked a handyman to come and fix your washing machine, if they said they were coming in an hour, that didn't really mean an hour. It could be an hour, 5 hours, tomorrow. It wasn't always right away. But I think that more and more they're getting to the point where they are respecting people's time, and if they tell you 8 o'clock, then they will try to be there at 8 o'clock. Another thing is there are only 2 seasons in Costa Rica, the rainy season and the dry season. And the rainy season they call winter. The rainy season depends on where you live in Costa Rica, and it also depends a lot if you're in the mountains, if you're by the ocean or wherever you are. It's not always exactly during these months, but the rainy season usually starts around April, but it could start in March. It could start later. Especially with climate change, it could start at a different time, and it lasts usually until November. And once again, that could also change. In the summer season is called the dry season, and then that would be from the time that the rainy season ends, whenever that is. It might be November, might be December, until around April. But in between there could be some rain. As a matter of fact, I'm hearing that in 2026, this year, that they have had a lot of rain during the time when it was supposed to be summertime. So those things will change a little bit with the climate change. So those are some of the things that you can notice that are different between the United States and Costa Rica. And what I learned from this was, when I lived there, was I really, really enjoyed it. The longer I was there, the more I really liked it. I liked having less consumerism, and I got to go to the store and just buy one envelope. I didn't have to buy a package of 50 or 100 envelopes. I didn't need that many. I didn't get that much mail, and I wasn't sending that much mail. If I needed a folder, I didn't have to buy a pack of 20 folders. I didn't have to waste my money on that. And since I had only gone there with 2 suitcases of things, I had already pared everything down. And so I was used to living with less. And so I really liked having less things. I really enjoyed that, because then I had more time to actually live and do things without all the things that I had to take care of and clean and organize. Without those things, I had more free time and more life to live. And what they call life in Costa Rica is pura vida, pure life. Just enjoying your life. And people will go down the street and say, pura vida. They'll just yell that at you. They'll be riding by on a bicycle, and you'll be walking, and they'll yell, pura vida. And you can yell it back to people. So those are some of the differences, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked it, I hope you will subscribe to my channel and find out some other fun things about other things that I've learned. And please like this also if you enjoyed the content. If you have any comments or other things that you have noticed when you've been in Costa Rica, or things that you think you couldn't live without that I mentioned that are different about Costa Rica and the United States, like you couldn't live without 4 seasons, put that in the comments too, because the people in Costa Rica don't know anything about fall and spring, so those are things that they don't experience. So you could mention anything like that or anything else that you want to make a comment about. I welcome your comments, and if you have anything opposite what I've said, please put that too. I'm willing to hear what you have to say. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Bye bye.